ask you and advise you to self-isolate. Please follow our instructions.
As the federal government takes more measures to mitigate the effects of coronavirus on the Nigerian people, Lagos State government announces 4 new corona cases.
We have taken advantage of digital technology to ensure that Nigerians in distress are only a dial away from the relevant emergency response institutions in the country.
President Buhari inaugurates 4 new projects to enhance Nigeria's digital economy.
The drop of fuel pump price by the government, and everybody is happy. At least there's a relief now in the land.
And Nigerians react to the reduction in the pump price of petrol by the federal government. Hello, a lovely evening to you and welcome to the news on the network service of the NTA. I am Joseph Johnson with the news from Abuja. Hingino John Adams will be, of course, joining me in the news. And of course, we will be joining Ibadan, where Kemi Oshin will be standing by. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed a repositioning of the economy, starting with a review of 2020 budget to reflect realities in oil sector and prioritizing health sector infrastructure to respond to the threats posed by COVID-19. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President gave the directive after the second regular meeting of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, which also recommended the security of government debt, design and institutionalization of a revenue stabilization program, and the imperative of cutting the cost of governance at all levels. The meeting highlighted immediate and short-term measures to consider and implement in order to mitigate any adverse economic effects and reviewed the coronavirus pandemic and its potential economic spillover effects on the global and Nigerian economy. Nigeria, like every other country around the world, is dealing with the unexpected and unprecedented impact of the COVID-19. The Muhammadu Buhari administration has taken some steps to mitigate the effects on the Nigerian people. Ruth Agwele reports.
In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu says, to prevent the spread of cases imported into Nigeria, the President has already ordered the restrictions of travel from 13 countries, each with more than 1,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Government has also suspended visas issued to nationals of these countries. The restriction will take effect from March 21 and will remain until further notice. While Nigeria delights in welcoming the world, the safety and protection of the citizens and land must take priority. The various agencies of government, including media owned by the government, have already embarked on vigorous campaigns promoting hygiene measures. There are currently very stringent regimes of checks at the points of air and sea entry into the country. The effort Nigeria is making is well known and has already received the commendation of the World Health Organization. The presidency wishes to assure Nigerians that government is on top of the situation. There is no cause for panic. So far, measures put in place are working efficiently, and what the country is doing has been recommended as a template. The president trusts the relevant ministers in his cabinet and the officials of the National Center for Disease Control who are providing him with constant updates and professional counsel. These officials have a track record of competence. The president has also instructed the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to reduce the pump price of fuel. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to a crash in the global price of crude oil, and the president decided that every Nigerian should benefit from this, and the pump price of fuel has now been reduced from 145 naira per litre to 125 naira per litre. In other development, the Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday announced a credit relief of 1.1 trillion naira to businesses affected by the pandemic. The bank has also established a facility for household, small and medium enterprises and announced a reduction of interest rates for loans from 9% to 5%. The statement further adds that we do not want to create panic, but we will continue to update the Nigerian public with relevant information and pleads with every Nigerian Federation to cooperate with the government in the fight against COVID-19 and obey all instructions from the NCDC. It further noted that a high-level presidential coordination committee chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, this body should be allowed to carry out its duties. Nigerians have also been encouraged not to see this most peculiar of times as one to be politicized or seen as an opportunity to regurgitate grudges against the government or the ruling All Progressives Congress, North, South, East and West. All Nigerians must unite to fight this plague, irrespective of religious or ideological affiliation. In this regard, populist advocacies such as the one accusing the president of complacency simply because he has not made a television address by ranking members of our respected parliament are cheap and sensational. These are not the times for populism and cheap politics. President Muhammadu Buhari thanks all those at the forefront of the fight against the deadly disease.
Ruth Aguele reporting there. So, 3 weeks after the index case of coronavirus Nigeria was diagnosed, the number of cases now stand at 12, with 4 new cases reported in Lagos State today. And the federal government taking precautionary measures to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Joyken Abakboya now reports.
The 4 new cases include a female who had contact with one of the imported cases, another Nigerian female who returned from France on the 14th of March on board a Turkish airline TK1830, and a male in his 50s who had not traveled anywhere recently. They are all being managed at the Lagos Mainland Hospital.
Our 4th case is a Nigerian male. He arrived on the 13th of March from Frankfurt to Lagos on Lufthansa, flight number LH568.
Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, while emphasizing the need for social distancing at this time, added that the government is currently monitoring more than 1,000 contact cases.
If we ask you and advise you to self-isolate, please follow our instructions. Well, I have the good news to tell you that the index case has now cleared the virus. So we will check him one more time, and if he's negative, he will be discharged.
The Lagos State government is appealing to everyone on the flights that conveyed the imported cases into Nigeria to come forward to prevent the spread. In Lagos, Joyken Abakboya, NTA News.
Now, with the fears rising over the new cases of coronavirus in the country, Doindia in this report takes a look at the steps taken by states' government against the pandemic.
With the new cases of COVID-19 in some parts of the country, state governments have placed ban on public gatherings. In Benue State, the state government has directed all schools to shut down starting from the 27th of March 2020. From Awka, Anambra State capital, comes the report that the state government has also directed the closure of schools and other public gathering from the 23rd of March 2020. And from Kano State, Elizabeth Lamido reports that the 3 suspected COVID-19 patients have been tested negative, and as such, no new case of the coronavirus in the state. From Katsina State also comes the report that the suspected patient of COVID-19 has been tested negative. This was made known by the State Commissioner for Health, Yakubu No Danja. There were also reports from other parts of the country.
Kano State government immediately swung into action to ensure that COVID-19 is prevented in Kano. No single case of COVID-19 is recorded in Kano State as at today.
Market women, the religious bodies, mosques, churches have been sensitized on how to combat coronavirus.
Our joke is to ensure that those who are likely to have contact with the IDP camps are the expatriates coming in. And once we're able to screen it properly at the airport, we believe that we will be able to pick this to a larger extent.
With 4 new cases of COVID-19 in the country, a firm compliance to advice and hygiene experts say is important. In Abuja, doing Dia NT News.
And it's part of measures to curb further spread of the dreaded COVID-19. The Lagos State government has suspended all religious gatherings above 50 persons in the state for the next 4 weeks with immediate effect. Commissioner for Home Affairs said this after a closed-door meeting with religious leaders in the state. Nosa Osula reports.
The decision was reached at the stakeholders meeting between the state government and religious leaders to control the spread of COVID-19. The suspension, which takes immediate effect, is to last for 4 weeks. The commissioner appealed to religious leaders to take the campaign on preventing the spread of coronavirus to their congregations, noting that the enforcement of the ban starts immediately.
That's part of the reason why we said 50. 50 is still traceable. So if 50 people, the pastor, I know, the pastor of a church, most of the pastors or imams, they know the residence of most of their worshippers, or people that worship under them. So 50, they can easily, trace them and know where they come from.
Legushi called on Lagos residents to maintain a clean environment and report anybody showing symptoms of coronavirus to the nearest health center. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
Still talking about COVID-19, the federal government has ordered the closure of all the 104 unity schools in the country on the 26th of March 2020 as a proactive step aimed at preventing the spread of the dreaded coronavirus. Minister of Education Adamu in a statement said all the principals of the unity colleges should fast-track the ongoing second-term examinations and close shop until further notice. Adamu directed the principals to immediately report any suspicious case to the nearest health authorities. The Federal Capital Territory Administration says measures will be intensified to prevent the outbreak of the dreaded COVID-19, otherwise known as coronavirus, in the territory. The FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, who gave the indication in Abuja during a meeting with heads of secretariats, departments and agencies under her supervision, also directed that both public and private schools be shut down till further notice. Ifeanyi Izumba has more.
The FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, has ordered the closure of schools, both public and private, in the territory as part of preventive measures against COVID-19, popularly known as coronavirus. In the same vein, social gatherings and worship centers should also be restricted to avoid body contact.
Our children are exposed in schools. No matter the level of hygiene, it is not enough. On this note, we wish to appeal to all schools to please shut down for this moment.
It is expected that residents of the territory comply from Friday, 20th March 2020. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Izumba, NT News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress has urged employers to strengthen preventive mechanism at their different workplaces as part of measures to contain spread of the coronavirus pandemic, aligning with the recommendations from the World Health Organization and the federal government on how to maintain good sanitation and quality hygiene to prevent the spread. NLC wants workers to comply with all the prescriptions to make the work environment conducive for productivity.
Many more cases may be discovered soon, which may lead to large-scale services withdrawal. In more developed climes, people are working from homes in order to mitigate further spreads. In our own workplaces, where this can be done, workers should be encouraged to work from houses if it is allowed. In such cases, workers' emolument should not suffer.
Meanwhile, the National Identity Management Commission has ordered the immediate closure of all its enrollment centers in Lagos, Ekiti, Ogun, Katsina and Anambra states. A statement by Head Corporate Communications Kayode Adekoke indicate that the move is to prevent both personnel and applicants from getting more vulnerable to the pandemic. In a related development, contingency plans are on ground to receive Nigerians in diaspora back home amidst COVID-19.
Around the next steps to take and the role they will play in all this, even if it is about even providing emergency services. So we're working with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, mapping out plans, programs on the role they can play. How is it going to affect, for instance, the remittances to Nigeria? How is it going to affect the contributions to their various families? And then what synergy can we have to ensure that they play a major role in all this?
The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is also exploring avenues to boost diaspora remittances for the economy post-COVID-19. The National Economic Council has set up a committee to look at the best way of combating the ravaging coronavirus, just as the nation records its 12th confirmed case of coronavirus. The committee would be chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and some state governors. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Well, it is a critical time with the coronavirus having devastating effect on the global economy. And here in Nigeria, the federal government announced a number of measures to reduce this effect. The governors spent over 5 hours looking critically at the socio-economic effect of this pandemic. The Special NEC Committee set up has Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as chairman, with governors of Ebonyi, Edo, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kebbi, Nasarawa and Ogun states as members. Prominent among issues discussed is the fall of oil price, which in no small measure would affect the state's financial earnings and governance at all levels.
The import of coronavirus on the Nigerian economy will affect the oil sector. Both price and production quantity are expected to fall.
Minister of State Petroleum Mele Kyari, Governor of the Central Bank Godwin Emefiele, and Director General Center for Disease Control Chekwe Iekwazo gave strong recommendations to the council.
The Central Bank Governor stated that our first priority is to keep our people as healthy as possible by ensuring that we boost our healthcare facilities.
Also agreed that this was a collective responsibility for all cadres of government. The Excellencies agreed to fund a series of urgently needed interventions, both some short-term interventions that are required for the immediate response, but some other medium to long-term interventions that are needed to provide for the control of this outbreak and future outbreaks.
We think this is a very, very good opportunity to open the space in the downstream sector, which has been constricted in the last 2 to 3 years. And it's an opportunity for oil mine companies that are going through tremendous pressure these days to now come back to business and do the business of petroleum product import, including PMS.
The excess crude account balance as at today, March 17, 2020, $17,220,756.74.
We take this matter very, very seriously, and going forward, we're going to be getting more announcements.
In the State House, Jide Onifade, NG News.
The leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has directed churches in Nigeria to observe the Sundays of 22nd and 29th March 2020 as days of prayers against the coronavirus in Nigeria and globally. CAN President His Eminence Reverend Samson Ayokunle, in a press statement, advised churches not to panic but adhere strictly to the guidelines for combating COVID-19 in all their gatherings in view of the restriction of public gathering to 50 persons by some state governments. CAN advises churches to hold services online or at house cell levels. It says for churches without online system services can be broken into shifts of not more than 50 members in each shift. Each assembly is also mandated to provide alcohol-based hand sanitizer for use by members, in addition to regular hand washing and maintaining distance from anyone coughing or sneezing. In the meantime, wife of the President Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has announced that her daughter has gone into self-isolation after returning from the United Kingdom. Now, the First Lady, in her verified Twitter handle, explained that although her daughter wasn't showing any symptom, it is only important that she did the needful. The First Lady tweeted earlier today, quote, "My daughter returned from the UK, being among the high burden listed countries of COVID-19, based on the advice of the Minister of Health, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and that of NCDC. She is on self-isolation," end of quote. She encouraged all parents to do same by maintaining social distancing and high hygiene culture, as prevention is better than cure. The First Lady has similarly shut down her office for 2 weeks with immediate effect, while essential staff are to work from home because of some staff who recently returned from the UK. Well, to stay with us here on the news, we are back shortly.
Enjoy yourself.
Be nice.
You're welcome.
Please, where's the restroom? Or just go into your right. Thank you.
I follow.
Now, Glow 4G, the wrong thing.
Data is oxygen. Glow 4G, the new speed of life. Your #1 4G network nationwide. The very best from Glow, the grandmasters of data.
With the current confirmed case of coronavirus disease in our country, it's important that we spread facts and not rumors. According to the NCDC, wash your hands regularly with soap under running water and use hand sanitizers frequently. Cover your mouth and nose properly with tissue paper when sneezing or coughing, and immediately dispose of the tissue in a covered waste bin. If a disposable tissue is not available, cough into your elbow. Avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness such as coughing and sneezing. Verify any information on coronavirus disease from the NCDC. Remember, your health is in your hands.
This message is brought to you by Dettol Clean Niger in partnership with the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and the Lagos State Office of SDGs and Investment.
You can choose to do this with your stew, but not your data. Get more out of life with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# today. Data is life.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Barawa Old Boys Association, Abuja branch, invites you to the 2020 Annual Leadership Lecture. Keynote speaker, Madam Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity. Topic, Media and Democracy, Challenge of Journalism. Chairman of the occasion, Malam Nasru El-Rufai, Governor, Kaduna State. Special guest of honor, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired. Honorable Minister of Defense. Chief host, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, Honorable Minister of the FCT. Chairman, Buba Branch Abuja, Professor Salihu Y. Ingawa. Date, March 21st, 2020. Time 10 a.m. Venue, Royal Hall, 3 Gamal Abdul Nasser Close, near World Bank, Asokoro, Abuja. Organizing Committee, Announcer.
So sad. You're feeling blue cause you got nothing to do. You need to step
to the Max deal. Get GoTV Max for less this month. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Cheetah International Hotel, pleasurable evolution you can't resist. A concept delivered. Cheetah International Hotel brings you face to face with an unimaginable experience you can't erase. You'll like to come again and again. One thing you will hate is to be told the story. Another thing you will love is to be part of the story. You are looking for where your gain equals the cost. Break even with Cheetah International Hotel with our world-class event center that is set to blow your mind away. A world-class arena equipped with top-notch facilities, syndicate bedrooms, hall 1, 2, and 3, underground basement hall, gallery, and many more. Located on plot 224, Solomon Law Way, Utako District, Abuja. For more information on your highly distinguished hotel services, call 081 007 18882 or 081 007 18883. Cheetah International Hotel, a place where your history and future is made.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
Thanks for staying with us. 4 critical projects aimed at enhancing the development of Nigeria's national digital economy, as well as supporting efforts at securing the country, achieving self-reliance and reducing poverty, have been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. Performing a ceremony at Mbora district of Abuja, the president said, with the nation's budgetary projections adversely affected by the dwindling oil prices, diversification of the economy is now a matter of urgency. State House correspondent Adam Osambo has more.
The projects inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari were the Communications and Digital Economy Complex, the National Broadband Plan 2020 to 2025, Nigerian Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship Training Program, as well as the Emergency Communications Center and toll-free number 112, aimed at keeping Nigeria and indeed Nigerians safe.
This is President Muhammadu Buhari. You have an emergency?
Without mincing words, President Muhammadu Buhari described digital technologies as indispensable platforms for a safe, secure, and prosperous Nigeria.
We have taken advantage of digital technologies to ensure that Nigerians in distress are only a dial away from the relevant emergency response institutions in the country. This will go a long way in supporting our efforts to improve the security of lives and property.
The Digital Nigeria program, the president said, is one of the federal government's key initiatives towards empowering innovators and entrepreneurs with skills required to thrive, thereby making Nigeria an active participant in the global digital enterprise.
It is part of our efforts to ensure that our youth, women, unemployed graduates, and people living with disabilities either become employees of labor or get a large number of well-paying jobs, thereby contributing to the national drive of lifting Nigerians out of poverty.
The federal government, he said, is committed towards ensuring that all stakeholders in the implementation of the National Broadband Plan have a conducive environment to operate, including the deployment of 4G networks across Nigeria.
I therefore urge the mobile network operators to ensure full attainment of the targets set in the plan and to also give special attention to unserved and underserved areas while deploying their services.
Convener of the event and Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, described as fulfilling the giant strides recorded so far towards the realization of digital Nigeria.
Broadband is key to our economy. As we all know, the agenda of our boss centers around three things. Firstly, security. Secondly, economic development. And thirdly, fighting corruption. At the time that other sectors are in trouble because of coronavirus, digital sector comes on board to provide an alternative for all of us. And that is what we are leveraging.
Highlights of the ceremony was a guided tour by President Muhammadu Buhari of facilities and exhibition stands of various ICT projects, programs and products. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
I'm now being joined in the studio by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Ali Issa Pantami, to further shed light on the subject matter. Minister, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. Nice to have me.
Yes, it's been quite a day for the ministry, hasn't it? I mean, inaugurating 4 key projects, all in one swoop.
Yeah.
Could you tell me the implication of these projects on the growth and development of the ICT sector?
I think they are very important, as Mr. President said right now, that we need to diversify our economy in Nigeria. We have been relying so much on oil and gas, and look at the situation we have found ourselves. All other developed nations are trying to diversify their economy, moving from resource-based economy to knowledge-based economy. And in the forefront of knowledge-based economy is digital economy. Digital economy today is dominating the world. According to World Economic Forum, by 2022, most probably a minimum of 60% of the world economy is going to be digitalized. It is because of this we feel we need to put our house in order. So work day in, day out to ensure that digital economy will at least complement the effort of oil and gas for now before it takes over from oil and gas in the future. So these projects are very important. One is broadband. Broadband penetration is key to digital economy. Without broadband penetration, nothing can be achieved in digital economy. So that is why when I came on board on 21st August 2019, I discovered that Nigeria had no broadband plan in place. The previous one expired in 2018. Beginning of 2018. So up to the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, there wasn't any plan. So the first thing we did is to come up with a broadband plan for Nigeria 2020-2025. With the directives of my boss, Mr. President, we work day in, day out, and we come up with this broadband plan. And in order to promote penetration, to ensure that many underserved and unserved areas benefit from it. Most probably our target in urban cities is to provide a minimum of 25 MB per second. In rural areas, a minimum of 10 MB per second, with a population of around at least 90% of our population to have broadband by 2025, and 70% penetration in even our rural areas. So this is what we have set for ourselves. And the second project is about the Emergency Communication Center. Today we have so many challenges that require the intervention of either security agencies or even other emergency institutions like police, fire service, now even hospital. So we came up with 112. It has been in existence, but most of them had been very inactive. But now we remodel it, and we improve the quality, and we commission it. Before it was not.
Okay, let me take you up on the last one you just talked about. That's the broadband penetration. How sustainable is the plan?
Look at the statement made by Mr. President. He said that he urges the regulators and mobile network operators to ensure that it is implemented. So I think there is nothing that can stop the country from implementing that. Policy must be implemented, and that is the reason why we produce it. And the NCA 2003 Act under Section 23 and 25 emphasize clearly that there must be a policy which is to be implemented. So the policy came up as a result of the legislation we have in place. So it is mandatory for us to work and ensure that it is implemented. The implementation is necessary.
Indeed. Okay, let me ask this question, talking about the Emergency Communications Center. Right, so how will that center strengthen the nation's security?
I think it will go a long way. The reason why we launched it today is to give it more publicity. So President was there, he made a phone call, he interacted with the officer.
Yes, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, so it was the wisdom behind the commissioning, because without the participation of the president, most probably the publicity will not be enough. But president in person was there, and it was on television live. So because of this, if you look at the reaction, it's unprecedented. So this center will work 24/7. So far, we have a minimum of 17 operational. All of them have been established by a Nigerian Communications Commission, and they have been mandated to do that under Section 107, subsection 3, Article A and B. So it is because of this we ensure that we have started in establishing the centers, and we do hope that before the end of our administration, we will have at least a center in each and every state. When you need an emergency intervention or in a distance situation, the only distance between you and the institution is just to dial 112, and it's free. So if you dial, it will link you up with either police or fire service or hospital ambulance, as the case may be.
Yes.
So I think this is very important. If you go visit the developed nations like in the US and many other countries, they have their own emergency number.
Yes,
so
they do indeed. Thank you very much. In fact, those are very laudable projects. Now they are key to the nation's development, and we wish you the best in the implementation process. Thank you very much. It's been interesting.
It's my pleasure, really. It's my pleasure.
All right, I've been speaking with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Ali Issa Pantami. Moving on now. A high-powered National Humanitarian Coordination Committee has been inaugurated in a deliberate attempt by the federal government towards facilitating the smooth conduct of humanitarian activities in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari performed the ceremony, tasked members to ensure that all obstacles impeding the delivery of humanitarian aid to people in need are dismantled. State House correspondent Adam Musambo has that report.
The committee, co-chaired by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, as well as the National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, has amongst other objectives speedy resolution of issues militating against the delivery of humanitarian aid, as well as promoting transparency and accountability in all aspects of interventions in areas of need. President Muhammadu Buhari noted with dismay the mindless actions of terrorists and other criminal elements that resulted in the killing, maiming, and displacing people from their communities. He, however, described as pleasing the restoration of relative peace and stability in the affected areas.
I commend the support of our friends and partners who have over the years provided humanitarian assistance to our people in need. At the same time, I also seek their understanding in situations where our sovereignty and the national security require more pragmatic and proper consideration.
The President once again used the opportunity to appreciate the nation's armed forces for their commitment towards eliminating the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists and securing the affected communities for smooth resettlement and rehabilitation activities.
I urge our armed forces to put more efforts to bring the insurgency to a speedy conclusion. This government will continue to evolve ways of ensuring that all humanitarian actors receive the necessary support to carry out their activities safely in line with established principles and taking cognizance of our national security imperatives.
Co-chairman of the committee and Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, said in the northeast of Nigeria alone, an estimated 2.2 million people have been displaced. Addressing this serious challenge, she however said, is being hampered by coordination gaps as well as clashes between security agencies and humanitarian actors.
The importance of the task ahead of us cannot be overemphasized, as our advice and resolutions will mold and shape the future of humanitarian coordination in Nigeria for the better. We must remember at all times that we are on the same side, and working together is the foundation of our collective successes to kickstart the process of early recovery, nexus, and collective outcomes.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, and the Yobe State Governor, Mai Mala Buni, behind closed doors, but details of their discussions were not made public. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Presidential Task Force on the COVID-19 has made further clarifications to the travel ban imposed on 13 countries to control the spread of the coronavirus. In a statement, Chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Boss Mustafa, says diplomats will be allowed into Nigeria but will be subjected to supervised self-isolation for 14 days after arrival. It also noted that Nigerians abroad who are returning home will be allowed into the country but will also be subjected to supervised self-isolation for 14 days after arrival. The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has endorsed measures so far taken by the government and other relevant organizations to curtail the spread of coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, in the country. Deputy Secretary General of the Council, Professor Saliu Shehu, made this known during an interactive session with journalists in Abuja. Yusuf Umar has details.
For some weeks now, coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, has become a serious pandemic affecting all aspects of human life. Some measures taken to curtail the spread and transmission of the disease include isolation and environmental hygiene. The latest of these measures and support in fighting the pandemic is the step taken by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in encouraging Muslims to strictly adhere to all the measures put in place by government, including social distances.
In the event of confirmed emergence of the infection in several figures regarding the congregational prayers in such affected places, including the Friday prayers, funeral prayers, Taraweeh prayers, and Eid prayers, people with compromised immunity, such as the elderly, children, those with underlying health conditions, amongst others, should observe their prayers in their homes or wherever they are and pray Zuhur in place of the Friday prayers.
The organization called on Nigerians to shun all forms of rumor messages and support government in fighting the virus. In Abuja, Yusuf Umar, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government is apparently combining the task of combating the spread of COVID-19 and ameliorating the economic effects of the outbreak. The reduction in the pump price of petrol is one of the measures expected to help cushion the impact of the pandemic on Nigerians. Lydia Sampson reports.
Michael Ada is one of many Nigerians visibly excited about the reduction in the petrol pump price.
Everybody is happy. At least there's a relief now in the land.
Most motorists are happy with the development. Some, like Oliver Twist, want more of such developments.
It's a good development.
Wow, why would you say 20 naira difference is not much? 20 naira difference is a big difference.
At the time of filing this report, 21 NNPC retail stations had complied with the federal government's directive and adjusted to the new pump price, while others are still in the process.
They didn't bring the price of the fuel down. It's exactly 143, 145 we are buying.
But have you gone to NNPC station?
I have not.
Some sharp practices, especially in compliance with the pump price reduction, regulators say will not be condoned.
This price set by the government is going to run till the end of the month. Then, on monthly basis, PPPRA is going to come up with a monthly guiding price on how much PMS will be sold.
He's optimistic that the different positions of marketers will be harmonized soon. Then, Michael Ada and other motorists may even be happier because the rush will reduce as more stations comply. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And And implementation of the new pump price of petrol has commenced in other parts of the country. India reports that Nigerians are pleased with the proactive steps taken by the federal government.
The reduction of fuel price as approved by President Muhammadu Buhari became necessary as part of measures to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 on the nation's economy, and so many states of the Federation are already complying. From Jalingo, Taraba State capital, comes the report that while major marketers have complied with the directive, some independent marketers are yet to implement the new rates.
To really recuperate the gesture of Mr. President, we are going out to really check those who have not yet complied and see if we can take any necessary action against them.
Yemi Dalemo from Ado Ekiti reports that residents of Ekiti State commended the giant step of the federal government, but some marketers are yet to implement the new pump price. Correspondent Mansur Aliyu from Duse, Jigawa State reports that many fuel stations have complied with the directive, as residents describe the move as timely.
What I'm commending the federal government, in fact, is that I've never seen it happen whereby the global price of fuel is falling down and the federal government also brings down the retailing price in the petrol stations.
This is something that will help an average Nigeria, and we're happy.
From Oshogbo, Osun State capital, also comes the report that though some marketers have complied with the directive, there are variations. There were also reports from other parts of the country.
I hope it stays this way.
It's a good development. Let's hope it gets better.
Actually, I came to buy fuel, but when I noticed the price is reduced, so I decided to fill up my tank.
While many Nigerians commend the federal government for the initiative, they also called on the regulatory agency to begin enforcement. In Abuja, doing Dia NT News.
Let's now join Hingino John Adams in our Lagos Network Center for some reports. Hingino.
Thank you, Joseph, and welcome to Lagos. Sometime in December last year, there was the reported story on the death of a young lady, Moradeun Balogun, who was stabbed by some armed robbers at the Bagada area of Lagos State and was allegedly denied medical attention by a private hospital in the area where she was first rushed to. But today, there is a leadway to correcting such unfortunate scenario where hospitals reject or request for police reports to accord attention, as the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, is conducting inquiry into how it all went. Tunde Saiki has more.
The public hearing on violations of patients' rights has become imperative following several cases where the loss of life due to medical negligence or the police in trying to observe protocols before armed attacks, gunshot injuries, or even road crash victims are given medical attention. This instance is that of a 28-year-old lady, late Moradeun Balogun, whose life was cut short in 2019 when she was attacked by armed robbers in Lagos while returning from work. She was allegedly rejected by this first hospital she was rushed to. The personnel of the hospital claiming they were incapable of treating her and then referred her to another hospital without any referral.
We have to institutionalize certain accident and trauma response procedures, and I think that is something that the medical industry would certainly take on.
These medical experts at the public inquiry noted that at least a first line of medical examination and attention needed to be extended to patients in whatever situation.
Or to be able to prevent that death within that first hour, we train our younger colleagues or any doctor who has not had ATLS training to be able to at least support life until that patient can be got to the right facility.
These sort of things, although it's not going to bring back my daughter, but it's going to stem and it's going to stop these sort of things happening again.
The FCCPC panel is expected to come out with a report that will be used as a case study in dealing with such emergencies in future. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
And that's it from Lagos. More reports from Joseph in Abuja after this break.
The Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, ABCOM, has assured members of the public of continued dollar sale at the official price. ABCOM says there is no pressure in the foreign exchange market to warrant increase in the exchange rate above the official rate, as the Central Bank of Nigeria has continued to inject enough dollars into the market despite the sharp drop in demand caused by the impact of the coronavirus on global trade and travels. The association is therefore urging members of the public to patronize only CBN licensed bureau de change companies to purchase dollars at the official price so as to avoid falling victim of currency hoarders and speculators. Signed, Aminu Gwadabe, President, Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria.
The Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society, NMGS, hereby announces the postponement of the 56th Annual International Conference and Exhibition, Ibadan 2020, slated to commence on Sunday, 22nd till Friday, 27th of March 2020, till further notice. This is necessitated by the directives from the health authorities at the federal and state levels on the need to limit social interactions among crowd exceeding 50 for the time being, as a result of the prevailing COVID-19 issue in the country. It is the prayer of the Council that the nation and the world at large beat this epidemic soonest so everything can return to normalcy, as the new date for the conference will be communicated soonest. This message is brought to you by the President, NMGS, Engineer O.S. Income.
It is morning, a new beginning. As you prepare everyone for the day ahead, just anything is not enough. Only you make breakfast special, creamy, tasty, with vitamins and nutrients we need for a delightful, healthy start.
So start your day right with Hollandia Evap.
Hollandia.
I think she's got the hots for me. I think she likes me.
I don't think so.
Cut it out. That's my girlfriend. Guys, I'm out. Sweet boy, coming through. I'm all yours.
Ooh. So tasty.
How's it going in there? Pretty cozy.
Mini-Me, taste the fun. Niger, your love guest.
I do believe in love at first sight.
I just think it's not possible.
You know, as a man, you're moved by what you see.
My love at first sight is a mental connection.
Personally, don't want someone really shorter than I am.
Guys really don't pick up on things like that sometimes, and I'm guys.
My goal, is to find love.
I just like them average, light skin.
My move button is just showing me too much love.
You might be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if your nails are not straight and clean, I ain't doing with you.
Bad breath, bad odors of any kind.
I'm the mumu naturally, so...
I will be gone. I'll be a mumu for life.
I love attention, maybe food.
I want to try again.
If a woman is like my heaven, like she gives me peace, I'm good.
I was at the point of getting married, or my dad didn't approve of the relationship.
It's me, my man.
I want someone that's a little bit taller than I am and muscular.
I think you actually have to know a person to a certain degree before you say you're in love with them.
The need for increased funding for the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture dominated the engagement between members of the House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value and the management of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture during the committee members' visit on oversight. Anthony Forson reports.
Members of the committee, led by Honorable Olusegun Odebumi, listened attentively while the minister chronicled the number of releases made to the ministry in the 2019 appropriation, saying the performance stood at 63%. While the 1.5 billion appropriated for capital projects, only 769 million was released. The members who took turns to ask how the ministry was able to carry out its mandate with such lean resources, it became obvious that the ministry needs more funding.
Members of this committee, especially the chairman, Mr. Oge, who have been with us in the last 4 years, so they are very familiar with our challenges and our aspirations. And it's very heartwarming to hear from Mr. Chairman the readiness and willingness of the committee to fight our battle for us.
The minister, however, took time to explain the ministry's mandate, which requires managing the image, reputation, and promotion of the culture of the people and government of Nigeria through a dynamic public information system that facilitates access by citizens and global community to credible and timely information about the country.
We found it necessary to occasionally also engage the major networks in the UK and also the think tanks in the UK and the US. Because these are the foreign governments rely on their own media largely to form their opinions about Nigeria. So when there's a topical issue, for instance, we move to the UK or the US and we engage CNN, Al Jazeera, Washington Post, New York Times, AFP, and we give our own side of the story as opposed to the negative narration that they've been hearing.
However, the minister singled out the Nigerian Television Authority and its Radio Nigeria counterpart for the cooperation the ministry has consistently enjoyed in the discharge of its mandate. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Technology, capital, equipment, intellectual and finance capital have been identified to hold the key to agricultural growth as Nigeria positions herself to meet the demands of emerging markets. This was the outcome of a meeting between the Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NISOL, and All Farmers Association of Nigeria held in Abuja. Shimobi Walter Naji now reports.
In the recent past, billions of naira has been spent by different administrations in Nigeria to move agriculture from subsistence to commercial using cutting-edge technologies. This, industry players say, has been a far cry from the expectations and attributed it to lack of sustainable roadmap and policies by governments at different levels. Sustaining partnerships like this one between the Nigerian Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NISOL, and All Farmers Association of Nigeria is pivotal as both parties aim to shape a 10-year roadmap for agribusiness in Nigeria.
We're going to do would have on side by side.
Ali Abdul Hamid, Managing Director of NISOL, say the institution has a target to lift over 8 million smallholder farmers in the country out of poverty and solve financing issues. This will be done through cultivation of over 4 million hectares of land through the agro-geo-cooperative concept.
Now, economy of scale kicks in. The bigger the size of the land you are operating with, the cheaper cost of fund, the more you can bargain better for fertilizer, for seed, and then you can talk to market with one voice. This roadmap that we're going to do together, we're going to share it and anchor it with the Ministry of Agri, Water Resources, Trade, every sector in agribusiness.
The roadmap, when drawn, will help build the capacity of farmers in accessing finance and incentives to grow the sector in Nigeria. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
And that's the news. Thanks for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. Good night.